threshold demands to be crossed. The mortal shells yearn for meaning, awaiting a glimpse of their true purpose. These 4 lines are at the start of Mortal Shell, and they give us a fair bit to think about as we play. The game's title, Mortal Shell, can also be said as this: a being that has the possibility of experiencing death, who is also a shell of who they once were. And that makes a lot of sense. Our character is called by many names: foundling, unborn, aberration, and an empty vessel. A foundling is described as a baby with parents who left them at birth and given to others to be taken care of. Very similar to an orphan, except as an orphan, that specifically means your parents passed away. But this can be interpreted in a different way. We are without a background. The shells we awaken, the NPCs we meet, they all have backstories and history. We as the foundling just show up with no real reason why. A foundling, while being a person with no present guardian in their life, beyond the grip of the familiar, a threshold demands to be crossed. The mortal shells yearn for meaning, awaiting a glimpse of their true purpose. These 4 lines are at the start of Mortal Shell, and they give us a fair bit to think about as we play. The game's title, Mortal Shell, can also be said as this: a being that has the possibility of experiencing death, who is also a shell of who they once were. And that makes a lot of sense. Our character is called by many names: foundling, unborn, aberration, and an empty vessel. A foundling is described as a baby with parents who left them at birth and given to others to be taken care of. Very similar to an orphan, except as an orphan, that specifically means your parents passed away. Well, this also happens at the end of the game. If you die to the Unchained, you immediately start back at the beginning of the fight, and are given an option to leave or not. If you do, then the fish comes by and swallows you, healing wounds and relieving maladies. Drinking this would transform people. It would make them feel closer to the revered with every sip they took. She's the immortal observer. This is her job. I bring this up as this is extremely important. These sisters and brothers, and even the lesser devout in the other areas of the kingdom, all worship these revered, not only to become closer with them and is the Twiceborn, and deep within the bottom of the crypt, lying dormant, is Tarsus the First Martyr. Within the Shrine of Ash, it's clear this place has different ideologies than the sisters and brothers of the Order, as form of explanation is a memory. The glimpse of wisdom bestows the owner with memories and lost insights, while the glimpse of affection fills the bearer with warm passion. But the biggest question is, how do these even exist? If I die right now, will I drop a glimpse? Can someone take my glimpses? Can I give people my glimpses? And that he has proved himself worthy.
Sacred rites remain closed to me. I'm unworthy of the venerated nectar. But I will prove myself. These sniveling rats and Baal scrape will never be enshrined. They have neither the will nor the strength to accept the deathless doctrine.
As stated before, though, the beginning of the crypt contains the dead and unwanted, with the occasional of which who do become the sisters and brothers, but they are emptied, no longer remembering their name, just to be repoured into some human-like vessel, not confined to shape or time. They are a being within a body, but time doesn't end when the body does. Their spirit continues to move on. The Seed of Infinity and their order is a strange one, using nectar in the rituals and having members drink it until they're mad, but that doesn't seem to bother them, as nectar is the one way to feel connected with tells us to not overindulge. She mentions how a heretic she once knew was greedy and drank too much of the true nectar that didn't belong to him, and how he turned into a different being entirely, very different from a human, and how that this was his reward for his greediness. I can't help but wonder if this person she mentions is the old prisoner. The old prisoner has always seemed very greedy, constantly wanting everything and for everything to go his way, and when it doesn't, he gets other people to do his bidding for him. The old prisoner stated to us before that he also once knew Sester Ganessa. This story of a man she once knew becoming too greedy and turning into a beast could very well be the old prisoner, and what we see is that beast he turned into. Upon his defeat as the foundling, we retrieve and extract the Dark Father's gland. This gland allows the player to ascend. Upon accepting, the foundling throws the gland and basks in the true nectar, removing his shell and leaving the mortal plane. Once the credits roll, we are back at the tower. Sester Ganessa.
Alright, so there's shells, there's nectar.
We ascended, yet why are we back in the tower?
Swords.
That's the burden of immortality. Just like her being able to live on forever, she is cursed to observe and watch every day of her life, whereas we get to live on forever as well, except we continue to do what we were already doing forever, or as she put it, toil without end. But she says not to worry, as there is some comfort and even some pleasure in ritual, then continues to go back to her normal self and offers us a sip. This is the ending of Mortal Shell, ascending past the mortal plane, being reborn and becoming immortal like Sester Ganessa, but also like her, bound to stay and struggle without end, as our spirit is separated by the profane eternities that exist, giving us one foot in the other world beyond the mortal plane, but not fully fully removed from the plane from whence we came, as that is the curse of immortality. Our body, like Sester Ganessa, is just a vessel now, whereas we stated when discussing the Order, our spirit will live on past the age of our body, as now we are just immortal. The body is just a vessel for us to pour ourselves into and use until we see fit, kind of like how we've been using the shells throughout our journey. Bodies we inhabit until we discard them in replace of another or to show our true form. That's the ending of Mortal Shell. Before we head out, though, I know this is a lot of information, so I wanted to summarize what we've gone through. It won't be as detailed, but if you want to get the absolute bare minimum understanding of what's going on with the game, then here it is. We as the Foundling, someone with no purpose at the moment of our arrival,
That's exactly
the
what I
prisoner who
want.
gives us that purpose. He asks us for a favor, which is to help us retrieve these sacred glands so that they can heal him. You as the Foundling go to 3 areas: the Shrine of Ash, the Crypt of Martyr, and the Seat of Infinity, battling your way through to meet the end bosses who possess the sacred glands. These are the founders of each of the group's religious beliefs. In all the areas, everyone has some sort of religious belief, but they're all different, and each god they believe in is also different, with the end goal of having some sort of spiritual connection with their god in whatever way they believe. The Shrine of Ash, whose god is Imrod, believes in self-sacrifice by fire to feel a stronger bond between them and the god. The Crypt of Martyr worshippers enshrine themselves in ice so that they can be reborn when the god, the Immaculate, arrives. And the Seat of Infinity houses the brothers and sisters of the Order, who use tar, a substance said to be part of the gods, in their rituals. They also end up consuming the tar, which causes them to see visions of their god, making them feel a stronger bond between the two. Once collecting all of them, the old prisoner uses them to try to ascend himself, but finds out that the visions he have been seeing aren't of his ascension, but you, the players. With this knowledge in hand, he is angry and attempts to kill you. Once the player defeats him, they themselves can ascend, but as we have discovered, immortality isn't all that nice. If anything, it's just a curse. That is Mortal Shell. Now we get to the outro of sorts, a time where I don't have to ramble about lore, ideologies, and theories.
Is there a story? The story is become immortal, but you don't want to? Everybody was working. Why would anybody want any of this shit on?